According to Pan-African Housing Development financier Shelter Afrique, majority of African countries are facing a housing crisis as a result of high population growth, increased urbanization and low supply of affordable housing. Speaking in Nairobi at the inauguration of Karibu Homes, a low-cost housing project financed by the organization, Shelter Afrique chairman Daniel Gidinwa said the situation is compounded by lack of affordable housing finance, high cost of urban land and weak tenure security, rising construction costs and rapid growth in slums. Gidinwa noted that even though the housing backlog was a challenge, it wasn't insurmountable, adding that Shelter Afrique was committed to affordable housing for all in Africa and that the organization was keen on forging smart partnerships aimed at creating growth with scale.
We at Shelter Afrique are very committed to housing. When we come here today is to announce to Kenya and the 44 countries that make up the shareholding in Shelter Afrique that we are back in business. Our vision is clear: affordable housing for all in Africa. How are we going to do that? We are focusing on public-private partnerships so that we are able to create growth with scale.
On his part, Shelter Afrique Managing Director and CEO Andrew Chimfonda said several countries in the continent are facing huge housing backlog, adding that urgent action was needed to stave off the crisis.
We want to focus on the low end of the affordable housing market chain. We appreciate this development today, the 248 units. We look at the pricing. Yes, it's good quality homes, but 8 million, 9 million Kenyan shillings, $80,000, $90,000. Our challenge to the FH group and FHDI is that how do we move from 80,000 to 20,000? How do we use the same capital to grow another 4 houses? Because the challenge for housing in Africa is actually a crisis.
The company is now calling for a stronger public-private partnership to address the shortage. In a recent report, the UN Habitat blamed the huge housing deficits in Africa to poor response of governments to the issue, ignorance by governments on the housing issue, land delivery systems, urban planning and poor organization of construction sectors in most African countries.
And we strongly respect the partnership with FDI and the HF Group, and will continue to do more similar developments with strategic partners. As I have said, and I'm just trying to reiterate that if our goal and our plan is public-private partnerships, the question is, who's the developer? And it's very important to choose the right developer for you to minimize your development risk.
Kenya, like many other African countries or countries in Africa, is characterized by high rates of population and urbanization growth. These high growth rates have given rise to a surge in the demand for urban infrastructure and housing in urban areas in particular. Quite often, unfortunately, urban planning and investment in housing are often lagging behind, resulting in housing deficits. The surge in the demand for housing in turn has driven up housing prices and often push quality housing out of the reach of majority of those who are in need, especially the poor, the ultra-low and middle-income households. This is often compounded by the lack of affordable housing finance, high costs of urban land, and weak tenure security, as well as rising construction costs and a growth in slums.
The report also stated the continent requires 4 million housing units per year to cover its housing needs.